All right, guys. Okay, well, 10:05, we're gonna go ahead and get this kicked off. Good morning, good morning. Happy Aloha Friday. Super excited for today. We do have our incredible competitive offers panel. So the premise for this training is that we take three of our kind of top producers, heavy hitters here in the collab, and we ask them to share their secrets. So this is really, really good for seasoned and novice agents alike to really get a peek behind the curtains and hear the different strategies that our agents use to get offers accepted. So please lean in. And like I said earlier, if you guys have any questions, please throw them up in the chat section. And we'll make sure to get that answered. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a little bit of an introduction. Let's start off with Marina, since she's right next to me.
Okay, so just who I am, that's what you want?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Marina. Previous to doing real estate, I was a luxury wedding planner for the last 10 years, and then jumped in, did the pandemic pivot, got licensed July 2020, and then fast forward, it hasn't even been 2 years yet, but it's going great, and the sky's the limit. So it's really, the more you lean in, the more you get out of it. It's all about relationships, and we'll talk about that today too, but that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have 2 kids, a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old. I've got a honey company out here in Waianae too, and I'm loving life. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you. Hal, you're next.
Sure. Hal Wilkerson. Just finished my first calendar year as a full-time agent. Licensed, I was kind of moonlighting before I left, but I also did the pandemic pivot. That's a good word, Marina. I'm going to use that one. Before this, I managed a business for a major medical supplier in the Pacific Rim called Medline Industries. I built that business from the last 10 years, pretty much from 2011 to 2021, and had a lot of success over there. But again, I was kind of done after the pandemic. And so I decided to go do something that I love, and real estate is one of them. And so I also do everybody's favorite topic, short-term rentals. And so I'm a coach for a national short-term rental company. I've been doing short-term rentals for since 2018. I have lots of opinions and thoughts and, stuff on that, but it's what I do. That's kind of my other job. Mondays are my coaching days. So I do coaching, short-term rental stuff, but most of my students, actually all of my students, are on the mainland. But that's something else that I do. I have 3 beautiful babies or children, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 15-month-old. And yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. Nice to hear from you. And B. Hampton, tell us who you are.
It is so nice to see everyone's faces. My name is Brittany Hampton. I've been doing real estate since 2012, initially as an investor, and then I became an agent in 2015. A little bit of background about me: active duty military. I'm still on the reserve side. I am actually a secret squirrel, as they say. Military intelligence is my background, so analytics is my thing. On the side, I do private investing. I still stick within my investing channels. And what else? I have a dog named Maka. She's very spicy, just like me. She definitely is my spawn. And I have a wonderful boyfriend as well. And I think that's about it. It really is nice to see all you guys and put faces to names.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
All right, let's dive into it, you guys. Let's start off with what and how have your offers changed since you first started in the business? We'll keep this going. So Marina, then Hal, then Hampton, Brittany.
Got it. Okay, so number one, I think when we first started, it was like the thick of the pandemic, right? So 100,000 over asking was our competition, and sometimes all cash. So what do? It was a little bit overwhelming. It wasn't the approach to like throw it at the wall and see what sticks, but we were definitely like, the second it comes on the market, you need to see it ASAP. I need to be best friends with that agent no matter what, which I still need to today. But I think it's all about the appraisal clause, which it still is a little bit. And the higher you can go, the better, but also not stretching your budget to where it's uncomfortable. I never want to advise someone to be house poor. So being willing to walk away if the competition is too high. Today it's slowed down, right? So we've seen it shift a little bit. We've actually gotten offers accepted under asking lately, which is a wow, like it does happen. And instead of 10 to 15 offers, we're seeing 3 to 4. And a lot of those are really right around list price. So there's a lot of wiggle room there and flexibility. And I've even heard on the listing side now, people are saying they don't even want to offer out of fear of competition. And as a listing agent, I'm saying, bring it. Like, I have no competition. It's been a week on market, like bring me something. And so that's totally changed versus, 6 months ago where day one on market, there's 3 offers by 5 p.m. So that's me. Yeah.
How's it changed for me? My first deal, actually, I think we got it like, I want to say $22,000 under ask. It was like a $2 million marina house in Hawaii Kai. That was, it'd been sitting out there for a while. I think I got lucky on that first one. And then, it's interesting. Like, I didn't really feel it like Marina did. Again, I'm sort of a newer agent. So I started, like I said, I just hit a calendar year. I didn't really start feeling like the pressure until like mid spring, I guess spring of last year, maybe was when I started seeing all the competitive stuff.
Just to jump in real quick, sorry. As you say that, do you think that the price point or the market or the area that you're in?
Well, there's probably a lot of factors to it, but I think for our purposes for training, like what are the things that I'm doing today to get accepted? One of the things that I like to do to differentiate myself from other, because you're right, absolutely, like there's all these different things you can do. A heavy appraisal clause. I like to like I'm I like to advise my clients not to go too heavy, but sometimes clients will get super excited, and I'm like, I don't think you should be doing this, but yet they want to push. And I don't advise that, but it does happen. But I can't make the decision for them, right? So, but my job as their fiduciary is to get their property, get them their goal, their property that they want to buy. And so one of the things that I do is I do videos. So I do presentation videos for all of my offers, every single one of them. I do basically, hey, how you doing? My name is Hal. This is my client. Mike and Sharon have done X, Y, and Z. This is where they were. This is why they're moving. I just kind of tell the story in a little snippet of a video. I use a service called BombBomb. If you guys are like in my network more for just casually for business, you've probably seen some of the stuff that I do on that. It's just, for me, it's an easy way to communicate. And I've had multiple agents have said, wow, that is so helpful. Because it literally it gets them to have a sense of who I am rather than just text on a page. It really kind of brings it to life for them. I even did one like in my car, and the agent was like, Hal, I've never seen anything like that. And I actually was so raw and authentic. Like, we had just came from the open, or not the open house, but the showing. And like the buyer was like ready to do it. And so we did it right in the car. And I sent the video from the car, and I mean, he was even sitting right next to me, and I said, well, what was it again? How much was our earnest money or whatever, just to confirm, right? And she loved that because it was authentic and real. And we were number 2, but because we were number 2, the sellers decided to go with us, even though we weren't the top in the bid. They liked the fact that we were sort of authentic and real. The top one was like an investor. They were trying to do like a flip on it, but it's that personal element of having a video. In this day and age, guys, like everybody's virtual, everybody is, the eyes are on the screen. So the more you can get your personality, your persona, your spirit, your vibe onto that screen, it's going to help. And so I would say that's my number one differentiator across the board. And I started doing that probably 3 or 4 months ago, and it's helped a lot. So that's kind of my thing that I do. Yeah. Aside from all the terms and stuff, which I do, I do sort of I like to be aggressive as well.
Nice.
I will say that on my offerings.
Awesome. So get on video, guys. Brittany Hampton, how have your offers changed since you first started in the business?
First started in the business. Oh, right. I mean, they've changed quite a bit. My experience since 2015, even in 2015, it's a seller's market. It was a seller's market for like any what I quote as a hot property. And appraisal clauses were still a thing even in 2015. It's just that they amplified and got significantly more aggressive over the pandemic. So since then, though, I would say the biggest thing is limiting of a buyer's contingency. So I've basically checked as many contingencies up front in an offer. That is one key thing that immediately helped my buyers out. The second thing is showing as much cash funds as possible, whether or not we're deploying them in an offer, or whether that's through an appraisal clause or whatever it may be. I would say the third key point that has helped the offers as well, and if I could stress it definitely to everybody in the collab, is with an appraisal clause, keywords. I know EXP has their own verbiage, look at the verbiage bank, yada, yada, yada. But what they don't have in there is seller and buyer both will proceed towards closing. There is no renegotiation. The seller cannot come back and negotiate again. So that has been also a game changer. You're having that negotiation up front, and that was a game changer, at least for me.
Wow. Okay. Say that one more time. So that was with your appraisal clause?
Mm-hmm.
You say buyers and sellers agree to proceed towards closing.
Yeah, so you just do the whatever verbiage it is yeah, basically buyer agrees to come up with a $15,000 difference. Obviously, that's not the exact verbiage. And then, but comma, you put seller and buyer both will proceed towards closing, period.
That's awesome.
Period.
Period. That's awesome. I really like that, because it also says that you're serious, and it also protects your buyers. Did you say that?
Yeah, it's a two-way street. We're not having a renegotiation. I know there's some sellers that they want to get greedy and, hey, it came in 50,000 below. No, we're having this negotiation up front. My buyers will not proceed and have all these costs tacked on, cost contingencies and time tacked on just to get to another negotiation. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
That's great.
A little
That's
aggressive.
great strategy. I like that.
Awesome.
That's-
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the next question.
I was gonna pile onto that if I can. I mean, I'm the same way, Brittany. Like, I always tell my buyers, like, listen, dude, like, we're not playing games here. If you want to buy a house in this market, like, bring your A game. Like, retirement funds, you're gonna have to liquid up if that's what you need to. If you want a house, like, you need to have that in your mantra if you don't have heavy cash. And so I'm the same way. Like, as much cash as possible. And that's usually, like, I've never written a deal with less than $10,000 earnest money. Like, I just don't. And like, even on like a $700,000 deal, I don't know. I saw something not too long ago and it was like $1,000 earnest money. I was like, man, how did that even get accepted? But I guess it does, but it's like it just lands a lot heavier whenever
They had a really good video, Hal.
What's that?
I said they had a really good video.
Yes, exactly. That's it. Exactly. But that's the other piece. But I agree wholeheartedly with Hampton. Yeah. And do you go by Hampton or do you go by Brittany? I've heard it both.
You know, I think Travis, he has always called me Hampton, and that just obviously the godfather of the collab right there. It just transcends into everybody else. I mean, being military, I respond to either Brittany or Hampton.
Gotcha. Right on. That's cool.
I have to dust off all my old records from 7 years ago in my mind. Totally a thing for earnest money back in the day. What we may get back to is, yeah, you will just have $1,000 earnest money, $1,000 additional. Sellers were more apt to comply with J1 requests as well. That was another big thing. I think we'll eventually get back to that. What else? And basically having no section Qs. That was a thing back in the day as well. I think eventually we'll regress back to some of those terms. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, going back to, what Brittany said, yeah, it was pretty common. $1,000 earnest money was pretty common back in the day. But now it has absolutely escalated. And the conversation, just to kind of put in my 2 cents, is a conversation that I typically have with my buyers is, hey, how much skin do you have in the game? And that is basically the initial impression that you have on these sellers, is how much skin do you have in the game? So that's absolutely a conversation that you guys want to be having with your buyers. Let's,
One real
yeah.
is just like getting to know your competition. That's huge, right? So if you're really feeling it out and you're doing a good job poking that agent, you'll find out exactly how to make your offer. Obviously, that's not ideal with every situation, but that's how a lot of mine get accepted with low cash and like really easy terms, is that I know their competition's pretty weak. So you never know.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that kind of transitions into the next question of, what kind of questions are you asking the listing agent before your buyers say they want to place the offer? And when your buyers say, let's do this.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. So ideally, I'm calling them before I'm even showing it. So I'm building rapport before, expressing their interest in the property and why they've liked it. Obviously, this isn't ideal with every situation, but if it's like their top 3 pick for the day, I'm going to call that on my way there. Just try to get some information, see if there's already offers on the table, so that when we're showing it, we can kind of talk about strategy as we go. And then I'm calling immediately after the showing. And then once I'm on the phone with the agent, because ideally you're getting a hold of them. Sometimes you can't, even like with a flat fee agent, it's really hard to get a hold of them sometimes. But ideally you're building that relationship and you're saying, hey, my client really loves this property. So I'm starting with compliments and like love and like appreciation, right? And then I'm going, okay, so here's the deal. We're really serious. What do we need to do to win this? How can we make sure that our offer is super strong? What's most important to your seller? Like, if you're not asking that question, you are leaving money on the table. And then you're determining from there, like, okay, so we know that price might not be most important, or maybe it is. In that case, let's say you guys get 3 offers by Thursday. Would 20,000 above asking put us in the top 2? And I'm just asking that point blank. And they're going to say, I can't tell you that. And they're going to give me nothing. Or they're going to say, yeah, that's pretty strong, but if you can bump it up a little bit, that would help. And then I'm going to go back to my clients and say, okay, here's what they said. I'm going to go back to them again. Listing agent. Okay, so what if we came 30,000 over asking? Would that put us in top 2? And then they might give us a little bit of play on words. Is your client open to an escalation clause? Is that something I can add just to make it super strong? They'll give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Sometimes agents don't want them, and I don't really understand why, but I always try to put it in if I can. It just protects our offer a little bit more. And then I even say, we're going to cover everything for you, right? So condo docs are going to be reimbursed. Termite inspection is going to be reimbursed from my commission. Really just trying to be as generous as possible. No staking, no survey if I can, no cleaning needed, no pet treatment needed, like just make it a cake offer for that client. And I'm just going to follow up every single day, sometimes twice a day. How's it looking? Do you have more offers on the table now? How's it looking now? And you're just like almost annoying to the listing agent in that they know you want it bad. Like there's nothing else you're going to do but focus on this offer. That's really the biggest key. And then even the day that they're reviewing, I'm texting with emojis. How's it going? Wink, wink, like prayer emojis, fingers crossed. Like we're trying to make it fun so that they kind of get a glimpse of what it would be like to do the transaction with me too. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think too, the other piece is that kind of everybody kind of has their style, right? And I think that's important. For me, like I wouldn't do like texting emojis, like, because it's just not my jam, right? But I'm not Marina Tolentino either. She's amazing. But that's the whole idea about being an agent, right? But I think one of the things that I love about that, Marina, though too, is like reaching out to the listing agent. Like, it's, for me, like you can get so much and you can find out what's important and what's not important just by having a simple conversation. Oh, really? And asking open-ended questions. Well, how's that going for you? Oh, really? Is there anything else? Just like asking like those open-ended questions, because a lot of times that will expose stuff that you can use to make your offer a little bit better. And so I'm a big believer in anything you can do to increase like that personal connection with the agent probably another aspect of it.
So what I'm hearing is that there's a level of humility and curiosity that comes in when you're talking to these listing agents. Yeah, that's huge. Brittany, what kind of questions are you asking the agents?
Well, I'm
when you're
taking
buying?
notes over here. Marina and Hal, I'm taking from your toolkit. No. So, I mean, I would have to agree with Hal. Everybody, I think all of us have our own style. Marina, you would probably annoy the crap out of me if you were twice a day, you would get hit with the silence. But I definitely, I mean, to beat a dead horse, I do have a couple here that I wrote down, but relationship definitely goes a long way. I should have shared that for the first 4 years in the industry, I was a buyer's agent and that was it. So I would do about 16 to 20 mil of just buyers. And it now being on the listing side, what I have realized in all 7 years is it's more so about that relationship that you have. It's both of the agents really being on one team to create as smooth of a process for both the seller and the buyer. All to say, having that relationship from the buyer's agent to the listing agent is very important to create that smooth path ahead for our clients. So getting on the same page and understanding what the seller's expectations are basically upfront, just saying, hey, what are your sellers expecting out of the sale of this property? How can I make it smoother for them? And then of course sharing that and with my clients as the buyers and trying to marry those two paths. Some key questions, I'm sure you guys know a lot of these. Number of offers, how many offers do you have on hand? They can tell you how many offers they have on hand. They're not supposed to tell you what is consisted in those offers, but they can tell you which ones how many they have. Even asking, well, have you received any offers, especially if it is a home in today's market, homes are starting to sit. And a good key question to ask is, have they received any offers? Most of the time they will say yes. Why did it fall out of escrow? For some sellers, it's just because they're sticklers and they want what they want. What is more important, money or terms? Asking a close. So as opposed to the open-ended, which is great if an agent is willing to share information. If they're not willing to share, close-ended questions actually work really well because they just want to get to the point. So asking what's more important, money or terms? Money or deadline. When do they want to close? Just let's cut to the chase. And normally they'll share. The more aggressive ones will at least give that one word answer. Timeline is normally important. Just asking what is the seller's timeline. And that's a couple of questions. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. I think that's a big takeaways, right? Just learning as much as you can through whatever means possible about that situation, the agent, the seller, like as much discovery as we can, and then kind of shape it accordingly. That's the biggest thing. I've got a listing right now, and it's interesting the conversations that come from that. It's like, man, the difference between the buyer's agents is remarkable in how they approach you, and it's fun. This is like my first listing that's actually gone live. All the other ones I pre-sold before they even went live, so I didn't have to deal with
this.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun though. Yeah,
that's perfect. That's perfect. So this leads us perfectly into our next question. How has being a listing agent made you guys a better buyer's agent? Marina.
100%. You see the competition directly. You see what's being thrown out there, and it's all across the board, a huge spectrum of really crappy customer service and typos on an offer, all the way to like the prettiest, cleanest offer possible, where it just almost sparkles in your email. You're like, holy crap, it's so put together, it's packaged so well. Like, can they all be like this? And so seeing exactly like how you can improve as a buyer's agent, because you're seeing that spectrum. And then number one, it's like people will like offer blind, like won't even call me, won't even say that they're going to submit. It just like appears in my inbox. And I'm like, wait, who is this person? Like, you never even told me you were going to offer. Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have someone like us who's more aggressive. They're really trying to build that relationship. They're following up in a really kind and professional way. to where like you just want to be friends with them. And that's honestly the relationship that we're trying to build. Somebody that I want to work with, somebody that I know doing a transaction with and negotiating with would be fun and it would be pretty smooth. They're not going to be overly emotional, or I don't know, just like there's some angry agents out there too. You don't want to deal with that. So you're really trying to vibe out a personality match. I think biggest thing though, when I'm reviewing is just, you want a clean offer. Like, please fill in all the blanks with NA. Please keep all the NAs capital. Like even just like having a lowercase NA, it's annoying to me for some reason. Like I just want it to be clean. And just making sure like your initial email is really clean too. So many times I get emails where the signature picture is like half of the page. And I'm like, I don't want a blown up picture of your beauty shot. Like just give me the offer with like a paragraph of who you are and what you're doing. I mean, you really just see all the things. And so it just makes sure that you dial in your branding, you dial in how you deliver a package and the follow-up, right? So calling to make sure that you got it. Did you receive it? Can you give me a text? Can you give me a thumbs up? Like something. That's huge. Yeah.
Real quick with that, what is your perspective on the actual email? Do you prefer like an explanation? Do you prefer a video? Do you prefer just highlights? How do you receive the email body?
I've never had anybody give me a video yet. So bring it on, people. I'm the only one besides Hal that's doing it apparently. So I would love a video because a lot of the times I haven't met them, right? They came through a showing. I wasn't there personally, so I have no idea who they are. And then ideally it's the bullet points. It's the highlights of the offer. So I can just check it real quick when I'm scanning, say received. If I don't have time right now to go through all 20 pages, like I know what's in there at least, and I can forward it over to my client and review it later with them. But ideally, like no personal letters, to be honest, I prefer not to. You can tell me about your clients in the sense of how strong they are, but I don't really want to know what they do for work necessarily or what their kids are like, just because it does set them up for a little bit of discrimination. But I would say definitely give me a paragraph of who you are as an agent, who your team is. Do you work with a TC? What is your support like? And how do you operate your business? Like that is important. Yeah.
Good. I have a question for Brittany, if I can. Brittany, how do you, because you've been in like a buyer's and a seller's market, I'm just curious, like, have you ever had like I think Marina mentioned the angry agent, like, and I can think of two specific ones right now. And I'm just curious, like, Brittany, have you ever like had some conversations with like agents that are listing and they're just like angry and bitter and not really even knowledgeable in some cases about things? And like, how do you deal with that, or how did you deal with that? I'm just curious if you have any specifics that you can think of, and if you can't, that's fine. I'm just curious if you have.
No, that's fine. I just got to dust off those files. Hold on. I think going back, there's one that stands out to me, but to give you more productive information. I know one, it's more so prepping the buyer's expectation, it's stuff that we already know, right? So it's just prepping expectation of the buyers that, hey, I cannot control, there are two other parties involved in a transaction, and that is the seller's agent and the seller themselves. I cannot control them, but what we can control is our portion of it. So what normally ends up happening is with a listing, an unknowledgeable listing agent, I just end up doing the majority of the due diligence and obtaining the information through my own work, just to perform, at least for my buyers. I'm trying to think and just trying to save face. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I had two, and neither one of them actually ended up, we would have accepted, but on the first one, but he ended up not, we found another one before he accepted. So he actually accepted our offer, but my buyers found a different one that they ended up offering on and getting accepted between the time that we accepted with him. But it was just like, and it could be just me, because it's like, they see my number and my number's really high. Like I literally had an agent list this week. You're like, oh, your number's really high. You must be really an inexperienced agent. And I was like, well, that doesn't, like, she literally said that out loud. And I'm like, that doesn't, just because I have a high number, you have no idea who I am. But at any rate, I was just curious, like if you ever, I know you don't have that problem, Brittany, because your number is probably 5 or 7 years old, but I just was curious.
Yeah, no, I would honestly, you just say face with it. I mean, if anything, when Pume, you had asked like what our biggest challenges, that goes into that. My biggest challenge, honestly, right now is one, complacency, and I have a zero tolerance policy. I'm all of a sudden back to my military. So
Yeah.
with people who are just rude like that, it's just, if someone said, oh, your number's really high, I would say that would assume that I wasn't an agent on the mainland anyways about our offer.
Right. Yeah.
I would actually snap back. But I think I was very fortunate to have a good trainer who was opposite of me and my personality. And what I was always trained to do is to mainly just smooth things over.
Yeah.
And I would just move on to the next. I wouldn't even acknowledge it. I think probably one of the worst things that I have happened, and this agent is still in the industry. I was door knocking one time, and he had literally, like, his kid, it was a teenage kid, he answered the door, and I just, hey, we're having an open house, da da da. And all of a sudden this guy who happened to be the agent, he came running down the stairs and was like, who do you think you are, on my property, and slammed the door in my face. I'm like, I was like, okay. But to this day, I mean, as Marina, you are really good at establishing relationships. It is about relationships, and I would never want to do a deal with him. Even with, so if I have a buyer that likes one of his properties, I just let him know, hey, I do have a not relationship. I do know this agent, and it may not be the smoothest transaction. That's what I say, and that's it.
And that goes back to what, Travis preaches as far as building rapport and being easy to work with. Now, there's a very thin line of being easy to work with and being a pushover or anything, because you still need to protect your clients. But yes, building that rapport and giving the listing agent every reason to say, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
So it's the way that you show up, guys.
I call it scaring money away in those two situations, because that's literally what those two agents did. They scared money away. So it's like, yeah.
Well, what I talked about earlier with complimenting the listing agent, I've had buyer's agents who offend me in the beginning. Well, like, offense is my problem, but they're coming out with darts basically to say like, well, this is wrong and why should we do this and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, do you want the house or not? Like, you're not off to the right foot here. So just remembering, like, come off with compliments. You want to lead with love. Yeah.
Lead with love. That's good.
Actually, and which is perfect, because this leads into our next question, because again, agents, this is the purpose of this training is for you guys to pick up little bits and tips on how you guys can show up better. So as listing agents, you guys, what are some of the pet peeves that you have of other buyers agents? Marina.
I feel like we covered that a little bit with like the things we want to see improved. I guess biggest thing is just being open to negotiation too. There are some buyers agents who are just like, nope, this is our offer. This is what my buyers want. I'm not going to move at all. But it's like, okay, well, this is a give and take. And it's a good indicator of how the rest of the transaction is going to go. So if I'm asking for a counter on certain terms, well, it's because my clients need this to happen. Don't come at me and say like, no, we're not going to change our offer. Like, that's not really serving your buyer at all. I don't know. I think, and then just being easy to talk to and communicating. There are still agents who don't pick up their phone and they don't return a text message. And I don't know how they're in business, but it happens. So just being available is another part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, like having that back and forth with over the phone, like for me, I'm all about the phone. I mean, texting is cool and all that, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we do business over text, but you can pick up the phone and you can get a lot more done a lot faster with the phone. So if I have somebody that I can have fun with and talk on the phone, like I've got 2 offers on this house right now, like none of them are accepted, but like the one is like, she's a blast and we talk, and I don't know if she's going to be the one that gets accepted or not, but like, I know she'll be easy to work with, because just for that reason, like I'm direct, she's direct. I mean, we've been kind of like all over the map on that offer, but it's probably going to be the one that gets accepted. But that's for me is like, if I can have a good conversation with the buyer's agent and they are going to be asking me good questions and I can sense that they're not an idiot. Like, honestly, like the idiot question, like, are you an idiot or are you not an idiot? Like, if you're not an idiot and you can like have an adult conversation, like that's pretty much in the win column. And I know that's probably, but back to Brittany's point of like zero bullshit. I'm learning to get there as well, but that's just been my life up to this point anyway. I generally kind of try and keep the, kind of keep the stupidity at bay as much as I can. And there's lots of ways you can do that, but a phone conversation is an easy way to determine that. So.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, yes, Marina, pet peeve asking me questions that are on facts on the MLS.
See, I don't have a problem with that though. Like if somebody's asking me that, I'm fine answering those questions, but maybe I just haven't been called enough. But like for me, it's just an opener for having a conversation. Like that's a pet peeve of mine when I'm a buyer's agent and I'm calling a listing agent and I'm asking them like to expand a little bit more. I like the same one of the two that I just mentioned. She's it was Pumi, it was just the one from last week. And she was like, she's like, don't make me do your job for you. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me, woman? Like, you seriously are gonna say that? Like, it blew me away. But Marina, why does that bother you, Marina?
I think if it's leading up to more questions and it's building relationship, that's one thing. But if you're literally calling me to be like, hey, I can't remember, what was the HOA fee? And then they hang up after I give them the answer. Like, that was wasting my time. Like, people call for that, And or I think your remark said something about PV panels. What did it say? And I'm like, it's right there. There's a whole 3 sentences about PV panels,
See, I use that as an opportunity to learn more about the buyer too. And I'll say, so tell me a little bit more about your buyers. That's kind of what I to open it up. But I can see where that could be annoying, but I just like to use it as like a back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Brittany, what's some of the things that in your experience, what's some of the things that are just pet peeves for you?
Well, when Marina just wrote the pet peeves of the asking, I'm on Marina's side with this one, Hal, but I do like your rebuttal of like, hey, okay, let's do more discovery. We can do this. To me, to answer Hal's question with that, if you are not reading the MLS, that is just foresight into your due diligence as an agent.
True. And that goes back to the idiot, not an idiot point too, I guess.
Yeah. So if you can't read a sheet of paper, what kind of agent are you? Anyways, I digress. I am with you, Marina. Yeah. And then also listing agents' response, like just to, hey, yes, I received your offer. Also for a buyer's agent, it is extremely important that you do make some sort of connection. And pre-pandemic, it is important to have that phone call because not every listing agent will expect any sort of offer. So if your buyer is planning to place an offer, it is important to let the listing agent know so that they possibly won't accept an offer over the next 24 hours. It wasn't always this pandemic review period time frame for every single home. And point is if your buyers possibly want to place an offer, it is important to let the listing agent know that so that they don't go ahead and accept another offer in the meantime, just in case, because it can happen and it has happened. And then
sorry, real quick, can I jump in on that one too, just for everybody else's education? I think that's one of the things that I learned that someone told me that I didn't think that you could do, that if there was a deadline or if, for whatever reason, if you call the agent, you can say, hey, I have an offer coming, please wait for me. Yeah. That's a thing. When somebody first told me that, I was like, really? Because you guys, like the energy that you put into an offer, if you're rushing and if you have this energy of angst, then that's going to translate. So ask and communicate with your listing agent. Sorry, Brittany.
No, that's just, it's important. The other thing from a listing agent's perspective for a buyer's agent, it is a pet peeve of mine when buyer's agents don't properly pre-qualify their clients. Placing offers before a buyer can truly move forward with the offer. Granted, as a listing agent, we have to do our due diligence and we should be doing our own due diligence. A buyer's agent needs to be doing theirs and knowing what their buyer is bringing to the table. Where are they? Are they truly raw? All of those common things. Because that will make, as a buyer's agent, that's what separates closers from people, from just looky-loo buyer agents who decided to just get their agents.
So with that, what are some of the questions and information that you are making sure you get from your buyers up front?
How much cash they have? Like, have they been pre-qualified? Do they know, for me, it's like, do they have an idea of what the Hawaii market is like? You know, or are they kind of all over the map? I try and get them like to narrow down as specific as I can.
Asking how long they've been looking for houses. Is this their first offer? Is this their 10th offer? Where are they at? How motivated are they? That's a big one. But I just made this mistake with one of my listings actually, because we were countering an offer and it was contingent on them selling their existing place, but they hadn't talked to their CPA yet about capital gains tax because they've only owned the place for 10 months. And then they ended up withdrawing their offer because they found out capital gains would be half of their profit. And so it wasn't going to work anymore. So in that time, we just wasted our time waiting for 48 hours to hear back from this buyer. We could have just gone with somebody else. Yeah.
Good. Hey guys, I told Pume ahead of time, but I do need to jump. Unfortunately, I've got to head out. So it's a pleasure. And I think I learned more than I contributed, but thank you though for the invitation very much, Pume, for doing it. And Marina and Brittany, you guys are rock stars and it's a privilege to be able to learn from you guys today. So take care,
Thank
guys.
you so much, Howie. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All righty. Bye-bye. See you guys. Thanks, Pume.
Bye. Thanks, Howie.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. All right. Last question that I have. Brittany, was there anything that you wanted to add to the pet peeves or anything that we can teach the agents in that respect?
No, I think pre-qualifying is probably one of the best things as a buyer's agent.
Cool. Okay. Last question that I have is straight up, what are some of your go-to strategies to make your buyers stand out to sellers? You know, Travis in the past has talked to us about the 3 pillars of an offer. It's price down, cash down, terms, and purchase price, right? Marina, remind me, that's right, right?
Sounds right. Yep.
So in those 3 respects, yeah. What are some of your strategies?
Yeah, I think obviously price is always number one, your purchase price, right? So are you strong enough? And if you're coming under ask, is the term strong enough to make it worth it to the seller? I think, I mean, it's so situational based on every property, right? So it's hard to say like a one size fits all of what's working. But that's where it's just, you have to know what the seller wants and then customizing that offer to make your seller like throw everything else out because yours is the only answer for them. Nobody should even be coming close to your offer because it's exactly tailored to what they're looking for. So ideally, you're just really doing your fact finding in advance before you write it. That's big.
Brittany?
So kind of Marina touched on it before. To stand out, I think it's important to put in that cover letter that I think Jackie, you were sharing that. With whatever cover letter that you put in the email, I typically do share how long my buyers have been in the market and how many offers they have submitted. That can share their motivation and dedication to obtaining a property and following through on the transaction, which is of the utmost importance for a listing agent. Knowing the other side of the transaction will automatically get you ahead as a buyer's agent. And at the end of the day, so with that, a listing agent and a seller just want their property sold. They are a lot more black and white. So the more that you can make that happen for them and give them a warm and fuzzy through telling them about your buyers, the more likely your offer will get accepted. Another thing to make it stand out is showing their finances. Ask for a snapshot of their bank statement. Hey, here you go. letting them know the longevity of the buyers in the market, wherever my clients are from. Hey, they're local to the island. They've been in Makakilo for 20 years. So as a listing agent, I know that they know, hey, this home is actually at a certain elevation, whatever, they may have issues with settling. They already know these things. So it's going to create less likeliness of cancellation. Once again, pre-qualifying your buyers and sharing what those just the legitimacy behind them, and being responsive to listing agents. I mean, especially during the pandemic, if a listing agent is reaching out to you, you got to be quick to respond before they move on to the next person. For them, time is money. They just want the transaction closed, and they know they have 3 other people that they can get it closed with. And yeah.
Real quick, thank you for that, Brittany. That's huge, and Marina. As the market is starting to turn, what are some of the terms that you guys are not as, I guess, not rigid, because we're not rigid as buyers agents. We kind of did. We made it really, 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 really easy for the seller. However, as we're starting to see and feel the market shift, what kinds of things how are your terms being tailored to that?
I think it starts with the listing agent setting proper expectations, because if you're pumping up your seller's ego, you're going to get this and you're going to get that, and if the market's crazy, you're setting yourself up for a really ugly conversation. And so it's saying, like, here's the possibility, here's what's been happening, but we're feeling this, so we don't really know what's going to happen, to be honest. We're just going to put our best efforts forward. And then, like, for some of mine, it's taking 2 weeks to sell right now. Even though they're beautiful, they're move-in ready, there's no problems. It's just the interest is lacking. And so setting that expectation of, we're going to be open to what comes, but you don't have to take the first offer. We can be a little bit patient. Let's really follow up with those buyers agents to get feedback every single time if we can, because like I said, it's sitting. So as the listing agent, I'm kind of freaking out on the back end to say, like, why hasn't anyone offered yet? Like, what's going on, And so it's just trying to really communicate with those buyers agents to get feedback. How can we improve our listing? What is it that your buyers were turned off by? Why didn't they offer? And then sharing that feedback with your sellers so they feel more confident moving forward. Yeah, I think that's a big one. And then with terms and stuff, I mean, obviously we love a generous offer. So if you guys can still reimburse for condo docs and reimburse for termites, please do. But at the same time, like, beggars can't be choosers. So if I only have 2 offers on the table and they're strong, but they're not including everything, then we're going to go with the strongest, And so it's definitely a little bit of give and take. Yeah.
So would you say, as buyers agents, we may not necessarily need to come in saying, we promise we're not going to ask for any repairs, or, hey, you would, very nice. And that would be contingent upon talking to the listing agent. Hey, do you have any offers in hand?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I got one at $295, which is a really cheap condo in Aiea. We got it $5,000 under asking, and we didn't pay for anything above and beyond. Just like straightforward. Yeah. It's possible.
Very nice. Very nice. Brittany.
All of these conversations are making me go back to like pre-pandemic. Just to let you guys know, for some of the pandemic pivot agents, it is very normal outside of these past 2 years. It is very normal to not waive J1 inspections. It is very normal to not pay for TIR, to not pay for a survey, to not, what is the other one? To not pay for HOA docs. It is very normal for your buyers to not actually pay for those. So do know that there are greener pastures ahead, hopefully, for that.
I remember a time when there wasn't any appraisal clauses, and escalation clauses were rare.
Exactly. I will say only for like truly hot properties that those even exist. Like back, I still remember putting an offer in on one, this was 2013, on a second property, and they wanted an appraisal clause. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. But even back in the day, for a safety net for your buyers, though, a key safety net that I would put on there is in your section C, put a cap on the interest rate. So when it says, like, hey, your loan is, we're going to say 500,000 by way of a new first mortgage conventional loan not to exceed put a freaking limit in there. Protect your buyers that way. Say not to exceed 6%, 6.5%, whatever. Do the calculation, know what your buyer is comfortable with, and put that cap in there. And if interest rates happen to shift, your buyer is covered by that.
I've never heard of that, and that's really
Yeah.
key,
That's
especially
really
this.
interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that that absolutely does protect the buyer, because the lender can be like, yeah, we can't do that, or financing would be an issue. But be prepared for a seller to come back, or a listing agent to be like, take that out. Be prepared. I love that. Awesome. You guys, agents, oh my goodness, thank you so much for this. We are rounding the corner and hitting the top of the hour. Listening in agents, audience agents, do you guys have any questions specifically for our panelists? Anything that you guys wanted to ask? Awesome. Sounds like you guys are just soaking it all in. Awesome, guys. Well, again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Marina. And we'll make sure that Hal knows how appreciative we are. We appreciate all of you guys, all of our collab agents spending time to listen in and sit in on this training. Of course, the recording will be up before the end of the day, and it will be available in our recordings library. If you guys need the link to that, please definitely DM me and we'll get that to you. Again, you guys, the collaboration, it's incredible. It's an incredible community, and there is always more than one way to do real estate, and this is for you guys to pick and choose, see what works best for you, and also to create these relationships with other agents. So the Slack channel and Slack in general is the best way for us to communicate. Feel free to reach out and DM any of these agents, Marina, Brittany, Hal, myself. If you have any questions, if you want to grab a cup of coffee, because we can do that now, let us know, reach out to us. Other than that, again, we appreciate you guys so much, and go out there and make it a great day.
Go
Bye,
get
guys.
them. Weekend.
Thank you.
Woo.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, aloha.